7th graders, today you are going to continue with the second standard that we're discussing, calculating with positive and negative rational numbers. We're not going to deal with exponents today. You will have some real world and mathematical problems. That's always your word problems. So the bullets that we are meeting today is aligned with this third bullet, just like yesterday. It's calculating with positive rational. And today the only rationals we're dealing with are fractions. That is the only rationals we're dealing with. I'm not dealing with decimals, and I'm also not dealing with repeating decimals. So what you're going to be able, yesterday we added and subtracted rationals, normal rationals, as well as algebraic terms. Today we are multiplying rationals, also known as fractions, just fractions. You're going to be dealing with the algebraic parts of it as well. Tomorrow we will be dividing. So today though we are focusing on multiplying our rationals. You're also going to be able to solve problems in various contexts involving calculation with positive and negative rational numbers. Again, that is our word problems. Okay? So next. These notes are going to last you a couple days, and you're going to see that I'm going to skip through a couple sections as I'm focusing solely on multiplying our fractions today, or rationals. So, notice our topic here. Oops, that's a typo because that's from my 4th unit last year. This is really our 3rd unit. Just kidding, it's our 4th unit, and I'm calling it Lesson D. We are not simplifying rationals, we are calculating. That's part of that learning standard we just talked about. Specifically, multiplying today. So, the learning target is aligned. You can multiply rational numbers with variables. So you can do half of your learning target today. Some kids don't really love cross-simplifying, and I'm going to try to make you love it, please, because it's so much easier to deal with the smaller numbers than if you forget to cross-simplify. Sometimes the product becomes so large, and you can't simplify it as easy as you could if you cross-simplified first. So a reminder what cross-simplifying is. You divide through by the common factors between the diagonals of fractions. So like 3/4 times 20 over 18. It's much easier to cross-simplify this first. Look at the factors. 3 and 18 share a factor of 3. So I can divide them both by 3. And I get a 1 on the numerator of the first, a 6 on the denominator of the second. 20 and 4 share that common factor of 4. I can go ahead and divide that through. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And then you'd be able to go top times top over bottom times bottom. Alright, so let's talk about the actual steps in case you need this little refresher. You turn any mixed number into an improper fraction. You have to do this step. You are not allowed to times the whole numbers. It will not give you an equivalent answer. If you forget, let me just show you one example. -1 and 2/3. I'm dealing with a negative whole number because kids get confused with this. What you want to do is just convert it to that improper fraction first and then throw the negative sign on the side. So I would go 3 times 1 is 3 plus the numerator, so plus 2 is 5 over 3, and then you would make it negative. I think some kids like it, they called it a Texas method. So you would go 3 times that number plus the top number. You're welcome to do that if you would like to, if that helps you memorize. But I do want to just show you how it's not equivalent if you deal with the negative first. If I turn, and I'm going to put it in red to show you that it's not equivalent. If I went 3 times -1, well that would be -3. And then if I added 2, -3 plus 2 is -1 over that denominator. Notice they are not the same. So what you must do is deal with the converting, and then you throw the negative to the outside. Okay, I'm going to delete this so people don't see it on the notes. All right, and then I like my students to cross simplify after you've done that conversion, and then top times top over bottom times bottom. All right, here I go. 2/3 times 4/5. I can't cross simplify with the 2 and 5. I can't cross simplify with the 3 and 4, so it's top times top, 2 times 4 over bottom times bottom, 3 times 5, 8 over 15, and I am done. I do not need to simplify. Okay, the next product they want us to find is negative 3 1/5 times 12/20ths. Well, here I have to do my step 1 where I need to turn my mixed number into an improper fraction. Notice I have this negative on the side. I'm going to deal with that last. So applying that Texas strategy, I'm going to go 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16 over 5. Negative, you just bring that negative on down, times 12 over 20. I can't cross simplify with the 5 and 12. However, 4 goes into 16 and 20, so 16 divided by 4 is 4, 20 divided by 4 is 5. Now I can go top times top, negative 4 times 12 over bottom times bottom, 5 times 5. All right, I got some work to do here. Negative 4 times 12 is negative 48 over 25. I still got work to do. 25 goes into 48 one whole time, bring the negative to the outside, and then I have 13 remaining. I subtracted 48 minus 25, a remainder of 13, over that same denominator of 25. So negative 1 and 13/25. All right, next style you're going to see today is when you have whole numbers. Whole numbers, what I want you to do is make a 1 on the denominator so you can align it up better. So here I'm going to turn this into negative 4 over 1 times 2/5. I can't cross simplify with the negative 4 and 5 or the 2 and 1, so I'm just going to go top times top, negative 4 times 2 over bottom times bottom, which is negative 8 over 5. Now I'm going to convert that back to a mixed number. 5 goes into 8 one time, bring the negative out, so negative 1 and 3 remains, 5 is the denominator. Negative 1 and 3/5. Okay, the next one, I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 in my denominator. I also need to convert my mixed number into an improper fraction. Have to, you have no choice. You can't do it without converting. So 7 times 2 is 14, plus 4 is 18 over 7, negative, times negative 3 over 1. Oh man, I can't cross simplify this, so I'm just going to go negative 18 times negative 3 is a positive 54 over 7 times 1 is 7. So, how many times does 7 go into 54? 6 whole times. I don't know what the remainder is. I'm going to do a little bit of math. Okay, so it definitely goes in 7 whole times because there is more than 7 remaining, silly me. So it goes in 7 whole times, 5 remains because 7 times 7 is 49, 5 more to get to 54, over 7 as the denominator. So, just be careful. What I think the gist of this is definitely be careful to make sure you turn any mixed number into an improper fraction. You put a 1 on the bottom of any whole number, and then of course you have to remember your sign, your integer rules when you multiply. If they're the same sign, like negative and negative, it turns to a positive answer. If they're different signs, negative and a positive, like this first example, it turned to a negative answer. So be careful careful for your sets. All right, so that's the first part. This next page, this is tomorrow's learning target. We're going to be able to divide. The last part of this page is throwing on variables in here. And all we're dealing with today is multiplying rationals with variables. So we're not doing that left-hand column. What we need to know with variables, you can cross them out if they're on the diagonal. For example, a over 5 times 3 over a. You could cross out the a's and turn it to 1 over 1. It's just like 2 over 5 times 3 over 2. Notice how you cross out those 2's? It's the same thing with a variable. And then you go top times top over bottom times bottom. All right? If you struggle with that, by all means, you don't have to cross it out because, well, I'll show you an example. I'll show you 2 strategies here with these examples. Okay, so 2a over 3 times 6 over 14. I'm going to do this in 2 different methods, and you can choose what you like the best. So I see a's on the diagonal. I'm going to cross out. I can also cross simplify my 2 and 14. That would turn to 1. This would turn to 7. I can cross simplify my 3 and 6. 1 and 2. Then top times top. 1 times 2 is 2. Over bottom times bottom. 1 times 7 is 2. So that's method 1. That's where I crossed out the variable right away. I could do another example where if you don't love crossing out the variable, it might confuse you. You might not know when, like how do I know I can cross it out? You can just cross simplify your numbers as you normally do, and then apply what we did in Unit 2 with simplifying algebraic fractions. What's this? 2. So now this is 1a, so 1a times 2 would be 2a left over bottom times bottom. 1 times 7a is 7a. And then you should be able to distinguish that the a's would cancel out and you'd be left with 2 7s. So 2 different strategies for doing it if you don't like cross-simplifying them in the beginning. All right, next example, a over 6 times 3/5. My a and 5 have nothing in common. I can't cross anything out. My 6 and 3 have a 3 in common. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now I'm going to go top times top. A times 1 is just a over bottom times bottom. 2 times 5 is 10. So my final fraction here is a over 10. And you will be left with some algebraic fractions with today's learning target. Remember that our learning target is you can multiply and divide rational numbers with variables. But again, today we're only doing multiply. So you need to know what it means to cross simplify. And if they're on the diagonal, you can cross out your variable. You don't have to do that though. You can cross them at the end like we did here. And then if you can't cross simplify any and they're left at the end, you must include them. You just can't get rid of them. And tomorrow we'll finish talking about dividing with algebraic fractions.